Assalamualaikum and hi, my name is Nusha Trina Alisha binti Shamsul Kamal with the number ID 2021122307.
Hi, my name is Muhammad Daniel bin Abdul Latif. My ID number is 20211222379, and I will be explaining about the theory, the methodology, the discussions, and the conclusion.
Assalamualaikum and good day. I bid to Dr. Shanawi and I am your Shahida binti Abdul Rahman with the student ID 202130699 and I will be presenting the introduction, problem statement and literature reviews. I will start with introduction. Anderson 1998 defines vocalics as nonverbal spoken communication. The characteristics of tone, rhythm, tempo, pitch, resonance, and accent are all elements that affect verbal communication's meaning. There are also parts of vocalics that have their own nonverbal characteristics. Decoding and encoding nonverbal messages accurately is crucial to relaying understanding through communication. The vocal cues that students decode from their teacher act as a steadfast gateways to understanding for those learning in online learning setting. In a classroom setting where technologies act as wall and barriers, vocalics are extremely important. Anderson 1999 mentioned that contradiction occurs when nonverbal vocalizations contradict verbal communication. Redundancy is another term for repetition, and modification is a form of complementarity. Nonverbal cues like yawning and using segregates like ums and hums can take place of verbal communication. In an attempt to analyze the importance of vocalics in online distance learning, we have conducted a survey among UiTM Shah students and lecturers. Our words carry more than just information. Nonverbal communication can contribute to well over half of the emotional or relational meaning of any given message. In this paper, vocalics values are centralized. The importance of vocalics in delivering and encoding messages are put forth. In an attempt to analyze the importance of vocalics, we have conducted a survey on the significance of vocalics in enhancing the clarity of communication in online distance learning (ODL) among UiTM Shah Alam students. During online classes, this digital wall may be the barrier of communication between the student and the lecturers. This form of nonverbal communication is essential for the encoding of the messages by the lecturer and decoding by the student. Thus, the walls that separate the verbal understanding between the two are thrown down through the use of such cues. The main purpose of this study is to investigate whether vocalics influences online communication. Moving on, the problem statement is the gap of communication between online and offline classes. One of the most subtle distinctions between online and in-person learning is communication itself. With online learning, it's undeniable that it's easier to connect with people. In this context, students and lecturers can easily discuss over things and communicate easily through applications such as Google Meet, Zoom meeting, or any other platforms. Many studies emphasize the importance of communication itself verbally. However, these studies sort vocalics and other nonverbal cues second in importance. Offline learning allows us to interact with a real-life environment where nonverbal cues are easier to observe. The importance of vocalic cues has been foreshadowed by the ongoing technology and is replaced with in-text conversation through chat box and other features. There is an invisible wall between lecturers and students in online classes, which later will lead to mishaps. According to Addington 1968, Pierce 1971, Zuckerman and Driver 1989, the attractiveness of the sender can be deduced from the sound of their voice. More appealing teachers' voices tend to be somewhat less monotonous and lower pitched for males, less accented, less nasal, less shrill, and more relaxed. When a student listens to the lecturer during an online class, these cues aid in the understanding the lesson at hand.
Our next slide is regarding our research question and research objective. Our research question for RQ1 is, does paralinguistics have significant impact in virtual communication? For RQ2, research question 2, what is the inferences do students make on the basis of the lecturer's tone of voice and nonverbal behavior? And for the last question, research question 3, how significant is the interaction management in making the online class more interactive in learning? Moving on to our objective, there are three of our objective. RO1 is to analyze the significance of paralinguistics in enhancing communication between students and lecturers during online distance learning. Our RO2 to study the importance of implementing and understanding paralinguistics in online communication. And our last objective research is to identify the importance of student interaction management in online classes.
All right, talking about the theory, SPT or social presence theory. It is a concept that refers to the degree to which an individual feels connected to others in a virtual environment, such as in an online learning platform. It suggests that the perception of social presence can greatly impact a student's learning experience and sense of community in an online setting. The theory was first introduced in the early 1990s by researchers studying the impact of technology on education. It has since evolved and developed as technology has advanced, becoming increasingly important in the field of online education. All right. Why is vocalics in communication important? Vocalics are important in communication because they can reveal a speaker's feelings, emotion, their age. It is believed that each individual has a unique set of vocalics that can be used to convey a speaker's emotion or physical characteristics. For instance, a high voice could convey fear, but a low voice could indicate authority. Similar to how a quick tempo can convey excitement, a slow pace can convey grief. These nonverbal clues can be utilized to support or undermine the spoken message, which has a significant impact on the communication's meaning. In a classroom setting, where foreign languages are taught, vocalics are particularly important as they can act as gateways to understanding for students learning a second language. The use of nonverbal vocalics can also indicate emotions such as anger, pain, frustration, exhaustion, happiness, and sadness. For example, a student may use a low, soft tone when expressing happiness, which contradicts the verbal message. In such cases, it is essential for the teacher to be able to decode and encode nonverbal messages to accurately really understand through communication. And then the role of vocalics in enhancing communication. Vocalics, also known as paralanguage, is a form of nonverbal communication that involves the vocal characteristics used to communicate meaning. It includes the use of pitch, volume, intonation, rate, and tone to convey emotion and impart emphasis. Vocalics can be used to add emphasis to verbal messages, influence the meaning of the message, and create a sense of empathy in the listener. Vocalics is an effective and persuasive way to communicate as people are more likely to remember and pay attention to messages that are delivered with vocalics.
In our literature review, there are three topics that have been highlighted with three different subtopics. The first topic is vocalics in online learning setting. The first subtopic is social presence theory (SPT), the importance of SPT in online learning setting, and computer mediated communication (CMC) in online learning setting. The second topic is vocalic cues with the three subtopic pitch, tone, and rate. And the last topic for our literature review is vocalic cues practice. The first subtopic is teaching credibility function. The second one is the role of textual paralanguage cues in CMC. And the third subtopic for topic 3 is emotion recognition based on vocalic cues.
To continue, I will be presenting the literature review. First literature review will highlight social presence theory in online learning setting. The lack of nonverbal cues in CMC, computer-mediated communication, is argued to be one of the striking evident differences from face-to-face communication. To study further the relation between vocalics and online distance learning, a review on social presence theory will be discussed. A strong emphasis on task orientation was seen in early work in the area of computer-mediated communication (CMC) based on social presence theory. It has been argued that nonverbal communication can be severely restricted when there is no face to face interaction and that online platforms do not permit other members of the group to perceive nonverbal communication, such as gestures, vocalics, facial expressions, and other nonverbal cues. The extent in which an individual is perceived to be a real person in computer mediated communication or cyberspace is defined by its social presence theory. Social presence can be classified into three categories: effective communication, open communication, and group cohesion, mentioned by Brooke et al. 2001. According to Konkiln and Dicker 2021, students perceive lectures as implying their social presence in online classes by their ability to communicate and practicing nonverbal cues in lectures. Second, I will touch on the importance of social presence theory in online learning setting. A theory of social presence was developed by Short, Williams, and Christie in 1976 to explain the influence of what telecommunications media can have on communication. The term social presence often means social interaction, immediate intimacy, emotion, or connectedness. In order to better understand its relationship to online learning, this section examines how it has influenced online learning communication. Communication media have different levels of social presence, according to Williams, Pye, and Williams and Johansson. This theory was later used by computer mediated communication to researchers to explain why CMC is inherently impersonal because nonverbal and relational cues are filtered out of the communication of computer mediated communication itself. Next, CMC computer mediated communication as a whole in online learning setting will be discussed. Walther 1992 contended that the social cultural nature of individuals is identical in computer mediated communication and face-to-face environments. Computer mediated communication, CMC, which uses computers and networks to connect people, eliminates the limitations of in-person communication. CMC can become very personal, even hyper-personal. There is no such thing as a typical CMC message in educational settings. The context in which CMC is used has a significant impact on its meaning and significance. People used to criticize online learning because they thought the lack of interpersonal communication and verbal cues would intrude with the learning and teaching process. In spite of this criticism, online learning has been put into practices now.
Second literature review is regarding vocal cues. Vocal cues include pitch, rate, and volume. The first one is pitch. Marilena Phillips, 2017, described the pitch as a speaker's voice which refers to the highness or lowness of the vocal tone. According to some prior researchers, pitch has two effects. Raised pitch is associated with extroversion, assertiveness, confidence, and competence, but also with tenseness and nervousness. Natural variations frequently differ based on their gender, whereas females tend to have higher pitched voice, which is associated with childlike submissiveness, whereas men have lower pitched voice and have been associated with authority, dominance, and masculinity. Changing pitch is an effective way to convey enthusiasm while also emphasizing or closing a sentence. When we are talking about something exciting, our pitch tends to rise, and when we emphasize a serious or important point, our pitch tends to fall slightly. Lowering the pitch rate can also be used to indicate transitions between sections of your speech or the end of your speech, causing the audience to applaud and avoiding an awkward ending. Pitch appears to be the most difficult of the vocal components of delivery discussed. Pitch is also a crucial element in the field of emotion research and emotional recognition. Second vocalic cues is the volume. Level 1980 defines the psychological correlates of voice quality as three types of muscular tension: adductive tension, the action of the interrotational muscle adducting the arytenoids; medial compression, the adductive force on the vocal process adducting the ligamental glottis; and longitudinal tension, the tension of the vocal folds themselves. There were five voice qualities: neutral voice, tense voice, breathy voice, whispery voice, and creaky voice. Another two additional voice is harsh voice and lax creaky voice. Tense voice refers to a higher level of tension in the entire vocal tract when compared to a natural setting. A slight amount of laryngeal tension is required for a breathy voice. The vibration of the vocal folds is inefficient and the folds do not come together completely, resulting in audible frication noise. Whispery voice, on the other hand, is caused by low interactional interethanoid muscle tension but relatively high medial compression, resulting in a triangular opening of the cartilaginous glottis. Laryngeal vibration is inefficient and often accompanied by audible frication noise. Harsh voice requires extremely high tension settings and has additional arpeggicity due to the extremely high glottal tension, which is a distinguished feature. Last but not least, a cracky voice has high medial compression and adductive tension but low longitudinal tension. The last vocalic cues is rate. Rate refers to the speaking speed of an individual. As per Meridian Affiliate 2017, speech rate is the speed in which we speak, generally measured in words per minute. Along with speech rate, speech volume or amplitude influence perception of the speaker. Speaking necessitates moderate speed or rate, as too fast or too slow could be a barrier in the communication process. Speaking too fast has a tendency of the audience not being able to perceive and absorb all the information given accurately. Speaking quickly has also been linked to feelings of enthusiasm and being animated. Increased speech rate, like increased pitch, correlates with feelings of anxiety, fear, and anger. Perceptions of persuasiveness and credibility are most commonly associated with speech amplitude. According to research, faster rates of vocalization increase a speaker's source credibility and overall persuasiveness, whereas faster and louder speakers are perceived as more persuasive. W. Gilgo Woodell and Judy K. Bergen in 1893 stated that people who speak at a fast rate have the advantage in persuasiveness, as their rapid rate of speech appears to enhance both our impressions of them and the impact of their persuasive arguments. The main point in speaking is an individual needs to vary the rate of speaking in the beginning, middle, and end of the speech to keep the audience engaged. It is undeniable that certain people were born with fast talk or slow talk, but the rate of speaking can be altered and nurtured with the help of practices. The last literature review is vocal cues practice. How does the vocal cues has been implemented or practices in online distance learning? Vocal cues are nonverbal behaviors related to specific characteristics of the communicator's voice. Previous research indicates that vocal cues are important sources of information. Contrary to other elements of nonverbal behavior, vocal cues are critically essential as they accompany verbal message and give huge impact towards the communication. Regardless of what the students are currently doing, they are still able to perceive the vocalic message as long as they are listening. Compared to eye contact, facial expression, or hand gestures, which have no effect on communication unless students are looking at the teacher. However, despite its significance, vocal cues have little practice in the communication process. The learning process, particularly online distance learning or DL, necessitates the undivided attention of both students and teachers. In this context, the teacher as the domain plays a critical role in ensuring that all students perceive clear information and knowledge. As per Anderson et al. 2019, message credibility is a term that describes how well the message is accepted by the recipients. Source credibility, on the other hand, is a communicator's positive characteristic that affects the receiver's acceptance of a message. A credible message includes ease of understanding, verifying voice, fluent speaking, powerful voice and confidence as per Brill as M, Ostazol as Nestle as and Beck M D in 2020. This demonstrates that using consistent message by communicating with a similar tone, voice, and image could develop credibility of the teacher and foster trustworthiness between students. Vocal cues have its impact in creating one's credibility in the communication process. Textual paralanguage cues in CMC. Textual paralanguage cues (TPC) is best defined as a written manifestation that consists nonverbal audible, tactile, and visual elements that substitute the function of written language through words, symbols, image, punctuation, demarcations, or any combination of these elements. As per Rodriguez Hidalgo, Carmina 10, 8SH Verdict Peter WJ 2017. Two significant features of TPC have been found. The first one as the message disambiguation or helping the receiver to interpret the meaning of the message and increasing message intensity by making it seem emotionally stronger. TPC emphasizes two main elements in auditory textual paralanguage: vocal qualities and vocalizations. Vocal qualities are characteristic of the sounds of the words being communicated that relate to how the words should be spoken. The use of rhythm, tempo, pitch range, strength, emphasis, silence, intonation, spelling, and censorship all contribute to the interpretation of words in CMC. TPS exaggerated use of capital letters, exclamation marks, and onomatopoeic words like ha 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 that emphasize a loud laugh, emphasize the message, and make it more impressive. In addition, a simple emoticon used in a virtual communication could be a huge change towards the message and receiver's perception. People tend to misinterpret the tone and meaning of message, specifically in CMC. Hence, the existence of emoticons portrays the emotions of the senders. Other than that, Walter and D. Edgario, 2001, found that the presence of a negative element, whether verbal or nonverbal, changed the message interpretation to a negative tone.
I will be continuing with the third subtopic. The third subtopic is emotion recognition based on vocalic cues. Darwin proposed the existence of universal discrete expressions of emotion in Darwin's theory of evolution. However, as Darwin himself indicated, distinct emotions can also be expressed vocally. Until recently, the voice was a relatively unappreciated element of communication. It is necessary to understand the characteristics of normal emotional communication. The foundation for such a viewpoint can be found in Darwin's theory of emotion comprehension and recognition. A study compared evaluations of the emotion expressed in voice samples with evaluations of voice synthesized by Moog synthesizer, samples previously used in the message.
For the methodology of our study, quantitative research design is used. Quantitative data collection will consist of survey administered to a sample of participants. The survey will include questions about participants' perception of vocalics in communication. And then participant will also be asked to rate the importance of vocalics in different communication contexts, such as in the classroom or in an online class. Right. The reason why we choose quantitative approach is because it allows for the ability to generalize the findings of the study to a larger population. By surveying a large sample of participants, the results of the study can be extended to a broader population, which can provide valuable insights into the perception of vocalics in communication in general. The selection of participants for the study will be based on a convenient sampling method. This method involves selecting participants who are easily accessible and willing to participate in our study. The sample will consist of individuals who have experience with both in-person and online communication, as our study aims to understand the perceptions and experience of vocalics in these different contexts. Therefore, the participants are students from UiTM Shah. All right. For the questionnaires, we have four sections: section A, B, C, and D. For section A, we ask the respondent their demographic background, like their age, their email, their gender, and mostly about which faculty they're from. And then for section B, we provided a Likert scale to test the knowledge of students about vocalic categories. And for section C, we provided a sample voice message for the respondents so they could determine how the tone of voice is match the situation. And then for the last section, section D, we provided a Likert scale of vocal behavior and turn interaction management.
Moving on to finding. In finding, we have classified our survey questionnaire into four sections: Section A, Section B, Section C, and Section D. In Section A, participants were asked to provide demographic information such as their age, gender, education level, and cultural background. This information to ensure that the sample is representative of the population being studied. The survey questionnaires have obtained 30 respondents among UiTM Shah students. As for gender specificity, most of our respondents surveyed are female, with 78% of the total respondents. Another 30% of the respondents are male, ranging from 22 years old until 28 years old. In section B, participants were asked to rate the importance of different vocalic categories such as tone, rhythm, and pitch on Likert scale in relation to their impact on virtual communication. The results of this section provide insights into whether the participants believe paralinguistics have a significant impact on virtual communication. The main objective of this section, section B, is to analyze the significance of paralinguistics in enhancing communication between students and lecturers during RTL. As per histogram chart attached, half of the respondents, which is equivalent to 50% of the respondents, agree that paralinguistic or vocalics application is significant in online lectures. A similar number of respondents, 7 respondents for both strongly agree and neutral, are voted of this question. Second histogram shows that 60% of the respondents agree that poor paralinguistic understanding can affect the clarity of learning process and outcome, and most of the respondents agree with this statement. Section C, participants were given a sample voice message and were asked to make inferences about the speaker's tone of voice and nonverbal behavior. This section aims to understand how students perceive and interpret the vocal behavior of their lecturer and how this may affect their understanding in an online learning environment. Main objective of this section to study the importance of implementing and understanding paralinguistics in online communication. Based on the voice message, the lecturer used authority to show the clearness, thickness, and the strength of her voice. According to the histogram chart attached, more than half of the respondents, with a total of 22 respondents, agree that the lecturer used authority to show the clearness, thickness, and the strength of their voice. 7 respondents are neutral with the statement, and only one minority disagree that the lecturer used authority to show the clearness, thickness, and the strength of their voice. This shows that it is essential to speak clearly to the audience in online lectures. In section C, the main focus is to highlight the vocal behavior and the interaction management in online learning distance. Turn taking occurs in a conversation when one person listens while the other person speaks. Objective of this section is to identify the importance of turn interaction management in online classes. According to the data collected, it can be concluded that most of the respondents agree that a lecturer will answer their own questions after a longer pause, longer than zero point 0.5 seconds, and the reason might be that the lecturer decided to continue talking since the students missed an opportunity to take the turn or even answer the question. Another 7 respondents also strongly agree with the statement, and only 3 of the respondents feel neutral with the statement.
All right, for section B, The survey results indicate that vocalics, or the study of nonverbal and paralinguistic aspects of speech such as tone, pitch, and pauses, plays a crucial role in virtual communication, particularly in online distant learning. The majority of respondents recognize that the importance of vocalics in making inferences about others' emotions and understanding meaning of message. They also agreed that intonation, pitch, and pauses are important factors in understanding speech, and that poor use of vocalics can negatively affect the clarity of learning process and outcome. Additionally, the majority of respondents believe that vocalics can be used to convey confidence and emotions in virtual communication, and that silence is an important aspect of communication. Overall, the survey results emphasize the importance of vocalics in virtual communication and its impacts on the clarity of learning process and outcome. The result from section C of the study suggests that vocalics or nonverbal communication plays a crucial role in how people interpret and respond to verbal messages. The majority of respondents agreed that people make inferences about a speaker's emotions and intentions based on their tone of voice and verbal behavior. It was found that there is a strong correlation between the tone of voice and the perceived emotion of the speaker. The study also revealed that there can be confusion and misinterpretation when it comes to vocalics in virtual communication, such as in online class. Other than that, the study found that paralinguistics, or non-verbal aspects of speech, have a significant impact on virtual communication, and that poor intonation, pitch, or rhythm greatly affects the delivery of messages or information in online distance learning. All right, for this last section, section D, the study indicate that the majority of the respondents recognize the importance of vocal behavior and turn interaction management in online distance learning. The majority of the respondents agreed that a falling and slowing pitch can indicate that the speaker is nearing the end of their turn, and that stuttering can be a sign that the speaker is trying to process their thoughts. The majority of the respondents also recognize that mumbling can be a sign of low confidence, and that an audible inhale can be a sign that the speaker has more to say. Additionally, the majority of the respondents agree that hand gestures can be used to project confidence and gain the attention of the listener. Overall, the results suggest that the majority of the respondents understand the importance of mastering the art of vocal behavior and turning interaction management in virtual communication, particularly in the context of online distance learning. In conclusion, the results of the study highlights the importance of vocal behavior and turn interaction management in virtual communication, particularly in the context of online distance learning. The majority of the respondents recognize the significance of vocalics in how people interpret and respond to verbal messages. It is clear that people make inferences about a speaker's emotions and intentions based on their tone of voice and nonverbal behavior. Additionally, the majority of the respondents agree that intonation can affect the meaning of the message conveyed by a lecturer to student, and that low pitch in conversation is harder to understand, especially when it's non face-to-face communication. In this study, it is revealed that paralinguistics, or the nonverbal aspects of speech such as intonation, pitch, rhythm, have a significant impact on virtual communication. Most of the respondents agree that paralinguistics are important in online lectures, and that poor intonation, pitch, or rhythm greatly affects the delivery of messages or information, especially on online distance learning. Overall, the results of this study emphasize that the importance of understanding the nuances of vocalics and turn interaction management in virtual communication in order to avoid miscommunication and misinterpretation, and to improve the clarity of the learning process and outcome. It is clear that uh, more research is needed to better understand the role of vocalics and turn in interaction management in virtual communication and to develop strategies to improve communication in online learning environments. Thank you.